I recently went to the Lexington Comic and Toy Con and wanted to share my experiences with you and show you all my treasures here. So while I get things together, why don't you give this video a like and we'll come back and start looking at stuff.
Yo, Joe, talking comics. Here's your host. It's A Real American Brian.
So I recently went to the Lexington Toy and Comic Con and have a stack of treasures. My top reasons for going were to see Larry Hama and Sergeant Slaughter, but found some other comic creators I was interested in as well, and picked up some good books while I was there. I've seen some people with complaints about the con, but honestly, I don't have any. I didn't have any problems at all. I know if you kind of like watch their posts on social media and plan properly, I think that kind of negates most of the complaints that I saw. Yeah, everything went pretty smoothly for me. I got everything accomplished I wanted to accomplish, and I didn't have any issues. But I did see there was a long line of people waiting later in the day to get in. But I got there early in the morning, and I was inside and didn't have any problems. But I went to this con last year as well, and it was significantly smaller last year. I think they were still kind of doing in a COVID recovery stage. There were fewer vendors in the hall, and just overall fewer people attending. I know this year the Saturday tickets sold out, and having the extra vendors in there, it did feel like there's a lot more people there and a bit more crowded. But I think that's kind of becoming normal for conventions this year, as everyone's kind of getting back to normal and going out to conventions and filling them up and buying stuff. Fortunately, on this trip, I was on a bit of a tight budget, but I was able to get all the signatures I was looking for and meet the people I wanted to meet and still buy some cool stuff and bring it back. So yeah, I'm looking forward to showing off what I found. The first thing I did is ran straight to Larry Hama to get him to sign a few books. I had him sign the Treasury edition here and had it personalized. He typically does 2 personalized signatures for free. So I went ahead and have him personalize this one. And yeah, so now I can put that back up with my other Treasury editions, and it's special and unique for me. The other 2 books that I definitely wanted to get him to sign, I have a 40th anniversary book that I'm currently collecting signatures on from all the people that worked on the book. Actually, I have 2 copies of it. So this one, I'm trying to get everyone to sign the cover and just have a mass amount of writing all over the cover. And then this one, I'm having the different artists sign the page that they worked on in the book. And since Larry Hama's page is the cover, he signed the cover of both of mine. So those were the 3 primary comics that I wanted to get Larry to sign, but I did have another stack of comics. I gave him some of the bookmarks from the channel and mentioned the channel to him while I was there. So I don't know. I doubt he'll check it out, but if he does, awesome. Thanks for watching, Larry. But other than that, I asked him about writing for the new publisher and where they were at, if he knew when they were going to make an announcement of who the publisher was. And he said, they don't really tell him anything. He doesn't know. And he has through issue 303 written and turned in already. So that's kind of where he's at with that. But after seeing Larry, I think I mentioned I had other books I wanted to get Larry to sign, but I was kind of holding off, making sure I had to have enough money. These were the 3 ones that I definitely didn't want to leave without getting those signed. So I mentioned I'd probably see him again later in the day, but I wanted to make sure I had enough money for that and to get some of the other things accomplished that I did. And spoiler alert, I did. I came back to see him later. But the next thing I went to do is went down to the Celebrity Hall to see Sergeant Slaughter. So I saw Sarge, and he was pretty great. As soon as I put the comic down, he recognized it as the first appearance of Sergeant Slaughter, which I was kind of impressed because he's not really a comic guy. I'm sure he's seen the comic enough to become familiar with it. But he said, he wanted to open it up and sign the panel where Sarge appears in the comic for the first time. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I've seen the signatures before. He always, really, I think you get your money's worth with Sarge compared to some of the other celebrities and things. So he always writes a note, on mine. It's Yo Joe, Sergeant Slaughter, watch out Cobra. So that's pretty cool. And I know he does like a gijoe themed or wrestling theme, depending on what the product was. Growing up, I was a big wrestling fan as well as a gijoe fan. So Sarge has always had a special place in my heart as that kind of crossover appeal. I did get some pictures with Sarge which I will insert into the video as well, and it's probably on the thumbnail. I think I'm going to use that. So that whole experience is super cool. He really takes some time to make sure that everyone that's there that's paying him has an experience to remember. So I was really appreciative of that. I thought that was pretty awesome. But that was the only celebrity that I was there to see. So then I was back up to the comic creators, and Bob Hall was going to be at the show. So I brought a copy of issue number 3 that he did the cover on. So this is the Hasbro reprint that was put into the 2-packs of the action figures. And he said, you know what, that empty white box down there seems like the appropriate place to sign. And I told him, yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's where I signed it, and it looks great. And then I had purchased this book because Warwick Davis was going to be at the convention. And I mentioned in another video that that was my intention on buying the book. I was going to get Warwick Davis to sign it, but his pricing for autographs was too expensive for me. But as I was packing things up for the show, I noticed that Bob Hall did the cover for this book and also did the interior art. So I was like, hey, I can still take this book and get it signed. So I had Bob Hall sign this book, which gives me a second reason to display it. You know, I loved Willow as a kid. I still love Willow now. And this cover is really cool. So I already had one reason to put it in my pile of things to display on my desk. I have like a stack of top loader comics, and I kind of cycle through those, and it'll be on my desk for a couple of days, and I'll move on to the next one. So this was already in that rotation, but now with Bob Hall signing it, has another reason to be in that rotation. Then the final comic creator that I had on my list to see was Jim Starlin. I have this reprint of this super cool Thanos cover that I've always liked. I do still need to get the Scotty Young homage to this cover, which is pretty cool too. But he signed it in gold for me, so it popped on that black background, and it's super awesome. I'm very happy with that as well. So that was all the initial signatures and things I was there to collect. So then I kind of moseyed around the hall. Last year I mentioned it was smaller, and I would say probably half the vendors were Funko Pops. This year it was much better. It being packed, there was a lot more comic books there to look at. And there were multiple vendors that had trade paperbacks and hardcovers that are at clearance prices and on sale, which is something unusual. You don't usually see at conventions because it's a pain in the ass to move them, and then you have to set them up, and they take up a lot of space. Bigger, heavier books, you don't really see that often, but I was happy because those are the books that I typically buy most often. And I found a vendor that had History of the Marvel Universe, the Treasury Edition. This is a book that I've been shopping for online a lot lately. And he had it marked at $25, which is about the price that I was looking to spend on it online. But this way I don't have to pay shipping either. And it was there in front of me, and I knew what I was getting, which is great because this book has multiple printings, and this same cover is used on the trade paperback size version of this book. And I wanted the Treasury Edition, so it was always kind of hard when you're buying online to tell if it's a Treasury Edition or the trade paperback. There was another printing that made it obvious that was Treasury, but getting it in person makes me happy. So I got that. I also picked up Far From Wonder. It's a Frank Bador graphic novel, alternate Alice in Wonderland. I've read the Frank Bador novels, and I remember when this was announced that it was initially coming out, I had intended to get it, but for whatever reason forgot about it, never did. I think there's multiple volumes now, at least 4, probably more. So this was $5, so I figured for $5, I'll get it, I'll read it. If I like it, then I'll upgrade to the hardcover ones and continue reading the series. This will be a nice little sampler. The next book I got was The Arkham Asylum Madness, which was the Sam Keith art in this story that when it initially came out, I didn't pick up the single issues because I was waiting for the collection, and then again, just like that, I must have forgotten about it and never picked it up. This is a library edition, so it has all the normal stickers and stuff all over it. The interior of the book is really clean. It wasn't beat up. It does have the stamps on the pages, but I think I'm just going to get rid of the dust jacket and have the hardcover book there. And other than it being stamped and saying property of whatever library it is here, it's going to look pretty cool. and I'll get to read it and hopefully enjoy it. If nothing else, I'm sure I'll enjoy the artwork. I'm a big Sam Keith fan. And I grabbed a couple $5 single issue books, the Marvel Knights Daredevil half issue and the number one, two books that I've been casually looking for online and in person at different cons. They were both there. $5 seemed an appropriate price, so I grabbed both of those. And then also noticed they had Powers number one in that same $5 box. I loved Powers. I sold all my books and kind of regret it now. I think talking to my brother, Taylor, from Taylor Talks Comics, he mentioned that they're going to be putting out bigger softcover books pretty soon. So I'm going to look at that, see what all that's about, and probably pick up those so I can read through the series again. But I never had the single issues. This is number one. The cover's pretty cool. I like it. It'll probably go into that stack that I mentioned earlier in the top loaders that I display. So that was pretty cool. So then that was the extent of my shopping. I was trying to save some money to make sure I had enough money to go back and see Larry and get the other books that I brought signed. And I did. So I took Spider-Ham number one. This is the True Believers reprint. I do have Spider-Ham number one, the original version of it is currently at CGC in the Signature Series being signed by Tom DeFalco. And I really ideally hope to someday get Larry to sign that book and have the dual signatures there. But just in case, I got this one signed by Larry, so that way I have one of each of the two main creators of Spider-Ham. I heard the story of them coming up with the concept for Spider-Ham, and I kind of asked him about it to see if it was true, and he kind of confirmed it, that DeFalco and Hama were both editors in the bullpen at this time. And they were talking one day about how they needed a new character for Marvel that they could create plush toys out of. And Larry was always a funny animal book guy, as he says. The Good Duck comics were his favorite growing up. And together they came up with the idea of Spider-Ham, and they were able to get the one-shot Marvel Tales, Peter Porker, Spider-Ham done. And Tom DeFalco wrote it, and Larry is the editor on it. But together, behind the scenes, they were the real creators of the character. So that's why I want to get their signatures on it. So that's why I did that. And then sticking with the funny animal theme, I got Bucky O'Hare, which was a Larry Hama creation with art by Michael Golden, and Neil Adams helped with some of the creation of it as well. I think Neil Adams was originally going to be the artist, but then Michael Golden came in, and Larry and Neil both kind of agreed that this guy is perfect for the job, and he works really fast. But yeah, I had him sign Bucky O'Hare. And then another G.I. Joe book. I couldn't get on there without one more G.I. Joe book. 155 and a half. I always really liked this cover. I thought it was super cool. The Cobra Commander ripping through issue 1, and this was kind of the relaunching of the series with IDW for Free Comic Book Day. But I had Larry sign that for me, so I could add that to my giant pile of stack of stuff that Larry has signed. And then the final one that I had Larry sign was patch number 1, Scotty Young cover. This is another book that I hope to get the dual signed eventually. I want to have Scotty Young sign it as well. And Larry was nice enough to put the little speech bubble around it pointing to Wolverine, which I had asked him for, and I'm hoping Scotty Young will do the same with the speech bubble around his signature pointing to the kid. And because the whole conversation there, I think that seems really cool and clever to me. So hopefully someday I'll get Scotty Young to sign that. I have like a small stack of Scotty Young books that I'm hoping at some point to get signed if I ever run into him. Then on my way out of the hall, I just happened to walk by a booth and notice this. It's so crazy. Like, I'm so glad I did. I very easily could have missed this. It's just dumb luck almost. I was walking by and looked down and saw this stuff sitting there. But these were kind of at one of the artist tables in the creator row. And this was Nick Wentland, I believe. Yeah, Nick Wentland did the cover art for these as a retailer incentive or retailer exclusive cover for issue 256. That was done for Roma Collectibles, and it was used at one of the conventions, CoilCon, maybe. I'm not sure. But he had it's a series of 3 covers, all slightly different here. And so this is the main cover. And oh, no, it's not. That is the Argentina cover. This is the main cover. And then there's a Ninja Force style version of the cover as well. He had all three. Very good deal on them. I didn't realize how small the print runs on these were until I got home and started doing a little more research. But it was 750 on the main cover, and then 500 on the Argentinian cover, and 250 on the Ninja Force cover. So only 250 copies of it. Pretty small print run, and I got the cool 3-pack set, and he went ahead and signed them for me as well. So super awesome. Got a great deal on those. Overall, I had a great time at Lexington Comic Con. Every goal that I went into hoping to achieve was easily achieved, and I didn't have any problems at all. I enjoyed the vendor hall a lot more this year, and expect that's probably typical of what they do. So yeah, it was awesome. It did sell out Saturday, so it was a bit crowded. I don't know the growth and what that'll mean for the con, but I had a good time and I got a lot of cool stuff. If you want to ask any questions or talk about any of this stuff, if you leave a comment down below, I promise I'll answer it. And I would be more than happy to talk about any of the stuff or my experience. Or if you were there and you saw anybody and you want to share stuff, please do that. But that is my video for now. Please hang around and watch another video.
That was a real American Brian. And now you know, because knowing is half the Brian.